Hey everybody, welcome to a solo episode with me that I have decided to title Omoshola's Can Do Chronicles. So this is where I get to share my personal journey on how I have overcome certain things that I did not have a clue how I was going to achieve them at the beginning, but I was able to find a way around it and eventually figured it out. So this is where I get to share my personal journey, because when you are always interviewing people, you kind of forget that you also have something to share. That is why I have titled this segment Omoshola's Can Do Chronicles. And welcome to the very first episode where I'm going to be discussing about how I found my identity and how you can also find yours on your journey to uncovering your life's purpose. You're listening to the I CANdemy podcast, the podcast for people who can but don't know how. This is where you get actionable steps to turn vague dreams into blissful realities. And I'm your host, Omoshola Victoria Owolabi. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to another episode. On today's episode is just going to be me and you. I'm super excited to talk about today's topic. It's a question that I get asked about a lot. It's a question that a lot of people from different backgrounds and walks of life ponder on all the time. And recently, my husband was actually talking to me about a colleague of his at work who came to work and had the exact same question. And it is, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? What is my life's purpose? How do I understand why I have been placed on this earth for? What am I supposed to do? Or it may take another form of saying, I feel stuck, or I feel stagnant, or I feel confused. I don't know the next step to take. This is a question that I get asked a lot. And when my husband came back from work and actually told me that his colleague had said the same thing to him, I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to share my knowledge about this question. And because I've also been there, I've asked myself that question. And for me, it was actually when I turned 30. That was when I had this like really burning desire, or burning question rather, to say, why am I on this planet? What have I been placed here to do? Not just going to work. Yes, I had a great career. I was working at the time as a career advisor. I loved it because I had great colleagues at the time. I got to work with teenagers, students, helping them uncover their life's purpose, actually, but in the context of guiding them towards their career path and what they were supposed to be doing. But then me providing the advice felt stuck. I felt like I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing with myself, right? So that led me to actually think very deep, and eventually I was able to answer that question, but I see that a lot of people actually don't know. So this episode, or this topic rather, is going to be in 5 parts, because what we're going to do is I'm going to break down for you how to uncover your life's purpose. How do you know what you have been placed here to do? And you will be able to know that by answering these 5 questions. Because right now, the cosmetic industry is $445 billion. So it's easy for us to actually mask how we really feel. We can mask and portray an image of, oh, everything is all good. I know it all. I have it all. But not really know for certain what we have been placed here to do. So these 5 questions is what I'm going to be talking about. So part 1 of this, on today's episode rather, I'm just going to be talking about, who am I? That's the first question I want you to ask yourself. And because that was how I started, I had to ask myself, who am I? Who am I really at the core of my being? Who am I? Not just what people see. What do I believe in? What do I stand for? What provokes me? What gives me joy? What makes me happy? Who am I? What is my identity? How do I see myself? Because when you talk of identity, so who am I basically is you asking yourself, who am I? What is my identity? Because speaking of identity, Your identity is your sense of self. It is who you are at the very core of your being. A lot of things are important in life, and mainly these are external things that we look at, like your job, your career, your family, your friendships, your relationships, your finances. Those are tangible external things, right? But your identity are things that we look for on the inside. This is the essence of who you are at your deepest level on the inside. This is not you masquerading yourself to be what society thinks you should be or what your parents have, decided for you to be. Finding your identity you need to actually sit down with yourself and write down, what are the things that makes me happy? What are the things that makes me light up? What are the kind of conversations that I engage in? What do I watch on YouTube? What are the kind of social media content that I share and post or retweet, right? Those are the kind of things that you should sit down and make a note of, right? Because most times, to be honest, we tend to hide under our flashy job titles or our roles in society as a mom, or I'm the CEO of this, or I'm the wife to this person. We hide under those roles. When we ask who we are, we would often start with like an impressive job title or our qualifications that we've amassed. But job titles and qualifications are not who you are. Your identity means the fact of being who you are at your very core. That is what your identity should be. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? That's who you are. And I'm going to explain this in like a mathematical terminology. By the way, I'm not the best at mathematics by any stretch of the imagination, but I just find that this analogy works in explaining who you really are. So when you look at identity in a mathematical context, it's actually a set of elements whereby when combined with another element of a specified binary operation, leaves the element unchanged. So what do I mean? Let me break it down real quick, because that just went over my own head as well. So when we're born into the world, we come with purity, we come with light, we come with energy. We are pure by every sense of the word purity, right? Because we know nothing. We just come in full of light, right? When we come into the world. And then we start to live life. We grow up. People start to speak over us. We start to get influenced by society. And we tend to start to change. Our very core element of who we are starts to change, right? So, for example, if you have been through a bad breakup or a divorce, right? Are you able to go through that divorce and still come out on the other side the happy person you were when you met your partner? That is what I mean by your identity should be a set, which if combined by another element, leaves it unchanged. So your divorce is an element that has combined with your natural essence. Are you able to come out of that divorce unchanged, be the same happy person you were when you met your partner, when you thought everything was going to be fine and everything was going to work out for good? Are you able to stay or remain as that same person? Because that person, that joyful person you were when you met your partner and you believed everything was going to be fine, is at the very core your identity of who you are. You came from a place of joy. But it's easier said than done, in the sense that a lot of us will actually get changed. We let the divorce get into us, we let the breakup get into us, we let all the negative energy get into us, and then it starts to change us from our very core. Or say, for example, we had this amazing friendship where we were betrayed. It changes you. But the challenge here is grounding yourself, your identity, in that pure essence of who you are and not getting changed by the situation. Letting that situation pass through you, and then you remain unchanged. You remain grounded. You remain that loving, authentic, kind self that you are naturally inclined to be. Right? Because what I've realized or what I've learned over time is when we go through those things, right? When we go through all of those experiences or betrayals or breakups or challenges, the whole idea and the reason why we are going through those things is to enlarge our capacity. That is why we go through those things. We go through those things to enlarge our capacity, but a lot of us miss it. Instead of enlarging our capacity, we shrink, we become smaller in response or as a reaction to that life event that has happened. Why? Because we keep stock. We keep record of that event. We file it away in our mind somewhere. We walk around heartbroken because we can't seem to let go of the energy that that event has brought with it. Hey everybody, it's Omoshola here with a quick word from our sponsors. You see, when you decide to become an entrepreneur, one thing you do not realize you're signing up for is actually the amount of skills that you need to learn, especially if you're bootstrapping your business and trying to do a lot of things yourself. So things like building a website, social media marketing, photography, those are skills that you need when you are getting started as an entrepreneur. And that was what I was quick to realize when I started my business. But hey, Skillshare came to the rescue. With Skillshare, I was able to go there and take tutorials from people who have been exactly where I was, but are now experts in their field. So whether you're trying to build your website, trying to learn how to market your product on social media, or trying to improve on your communication and facilitation skills, Skillshare has got you. With Skillshare, you're able to learn new skills fast and effectively with step-by-step guided tutorials. And as a lovely listener, Skillshare has been kind enough to allow our listeners 2 months free of premium Skillshare. So to access 2 months free of premium Skillshare, click on the link below in the show notes. Now, if you're able to look at things from a different lens though, whereby you're able to say, okay, this happened for me to enlarge my capacity of forgiveness. So yes, I have been betrayed. Yes, it hurts so bad, but this has happened so that I can enlarge my tank of forgiveness. I'm just going to let this pass through me, and my elements, my core identity will remain unchanged. We don't have to become unloving, bitter, or cynical because we have gone through that experience. Yeah, so basically that is the first part of finding your identity. So I'm just going to recap for a little bit. Number 1, write down what it is that provokes you. Number 2, what it is that brings you joy. Number 3, what are the kind of contents that you find yourself consuming on social media? What are the kind of posts that triggers you impulsively to want to share? Number 4, look at your YouTube history. What are the kind of things that you watch? Right? That would form a sense of your identity, a sense of who you are at your very core. Now, I want you to also understand that finding your identity cannot be done on your own. Now, I'm going to go spiritual on you real quick because this is what I truly believe, and this is what helped me in finding myself when I had that question. I had to look to, because I'm a woman of faith, right? I had to look beyond myself, look beyond just me, because the way I saw myself, there was no way I would have been able to understand my identity or even believe in who I knew I was capable of being. I needed to look at the larger picture of who made the universe and why have I been put here on the planet? And because I understand that I'm not by myself, I was formed from a higher power. So God made me from his thoughts and put me into time for a particular reason. That gave me a sense of identity. I was grounded in knowing that I'm not in this business of doing life by myself. There was a force bigger than me who was guiding me on that path, and that gave me a really strong grounding to say, okay, because I know that I am not by myself, and I am actually backed by this super powerful spiritual energy or force. I can do all things. I can do all things. Whatever I put my mind to, I can do. And I am been put here on the planet to serve. And this reminds me of when I was actually watching Beyonce's Homecoming. I was watching that documentary on Netflix, Homecoming. And what I saw in that documentary just kind of changed my life forever. When the documentary focused for some time on the audience, and I saw people, I could literally see their face glowing. They were excited. They were happy just to be in that arena at that time. And something spoke into my spirit to say, that is exactly what her purpose here on earth is to do. She's supposed to bring joy and light to people who need it at that very moment. So your identity should be grounded in the fact that you're here to serve, right? That is who you are. At the very essence of our being, we have all been put here to serve. But guess what? When you first of all find out your identity, at that very embryonic stage, it will feel uncomfortable, it will feel yucky, it will feel unfamiliar. You will want to default back into that sense of purposelessness that you were always in. But you don't have to do that, because do not be deceived by your outward appearance. There's a lot of things inside of you that the world needs. There's a lot of you that has been packaged, a lot of light, a lot of purity that you carry that can help the world become a better place. And I've learned this over the years, never to judge a book by its cover. So it doesn't matter what they've said about you. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you look like. There's a lot of light inside of you that you need to share with the world, that the world needs to hear about. So basically, that is how you finding your identity is one, asking yourself, what provokes me? Who am I? What are the kind of things I like to do? What tickles my fancy? Two, understanding that you have been put here by a higher power, by an energy that is larger than life itself. That is who has put you here on this planet and has your back, because God does not send you on an errand that he's not willing to pay for. So once you know that that you have been put here on this planet and God has the funds to fund that dream or that purpose that he's put you here for, it changes the whole thing. You just need to believe that you are a special human being, because you are. There is no other person on the planet that has your fingerprints. That's your unique identity. There is no other person. Let that sink in. There's over 7 billion of us on the planet, and there's no other person with your unique set of fingerprints. Your identity is unique. Your identity matters, and there's no one else on the planet like you. So that is what I want you to take away from this episode, that you are a unique human being. Your identity matters, and you are a masterpiece in God's plan. Now, having known that you are a masterpiece in God's plan, and God has put all of this investment in crafting you, in molding you, in stuffing you up with all of this goodness, with all of this wisdom, with all of this light, he's not just going to let you go just like that, because he's invested too much. You have too much inside of you. I don't know if you've watched these movies, like action movies, whereby the actors or the main character in the movie maybe comes across like the villain in the movie doing something bad, and then they start to chase him up because they're like, no, we can't let him go because he knows too much. They try to make sure that they get a hold of him because he knows too much or he has seen too much. That is exactly how God works. I'm not saying God is the villain here, but because God is a businessman who is profit conscious, he puts so much inside of you. That is why you feel restless. That is why you can't sleep at night. That is why you are confused. You keep asking yourself, what is my purpose? All of those feelings or those questions, it's actually God tugging at your soul to say, there is so much on the inside of you that you need to release, and you need to start putting one foot in front of the other and finding a way to release that, because you were not designed to fail. You have not been designed to fail. Everything that was created with intent and a purpose, and none of those things was designed to fail, right? So look at yourself as a brand. I'm just going to go into that for a little bit. Look at yourself as a brand, because the power of a brand lies in their products, right? So you are a product of God. You are a brand of heaven. There's no way that you have been put here and designed to fail, because when you are successful, it gives credit to your creator. Let that sink in for a moment. When you are successful, you actually credit God for your success. You are living proof to other human beings that because you did it, they can too. And in the last week recently, Tyler Perry was on the news a lot. He just opened up his new studio, and that gave me a lot of inspiration. As a man of faith himself, it made me believe that, yes, what I believe is not just a facade, that what I believe is actually true. That what I believe is that we are all connected to a deeper and a higher power. When I saw his accomplishment, looking at where he came from, I understood that all of the challenges leading up to where he is today have all been working together to make him the man that he has become today. Because when we walk in the truth of our identity, when we walk in the truth of who we are, we become divinely assisted, and our lives begin to become an inspiration naturally. You don't have to do anything extra. Just by living your life, you become an inspiration to other people. You become an inspiration to other people. People start to look up to you, and people start to draw that inspiration from your life. So basically, that's all I have to talk about today. I do hope that you got something out of this episode. It's something that I really, really had to take my time to learn, to study, to understand who I was. And I implore you to do the same. Sit down, take a moment. Get away from the noise on social media, get away from what people's expectation of you, and just sit down in your own voice and write down, who am I? What is my identity? How do I see myself? What are the things people come to me for? What are the kind of topics that actually makes my blood shoot up? What are the things that excite me to talk about? What can I talk about non-stop for the next 24 hours if I had to? Those are questions that you should ask yourself, and that would help you find your identity. And like I said before, this is going to be a 5-part series to uncovering your purpose. It's not something we can cover in one episode, so that this episode does not drag on or become too long. So basically, I will be coming up in the next episode. The next question we're going to be tackling is, where am I from? And that has to do with your heritage. So if you enjoyed this episode, please review and rate it on iTunes so that other people can find this podcast and also benefit from it as well. And join our email list. That is where you will be getting some nuggets from me, as well as I'll be sharing my own journey into how I uncovered my purpose, how I became the host of this podcast, other things that I'm involved with, and how I'm able to rise up from the ashes, basically. I will be sharing all of those via emails. So sign up for my email list. The link is going to be in the show notes of this episode. I'm also going to put the link to the iTunes link for this podcast so that you can rate and review to help other people find it. So there you have it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and we'll be talking about our next episode soon. So there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And for more content like this, follow us on our social media handles. On Facebook, it's at I CANdemy, the Facebook page. On Instagram, it's at I CANdemy. Or come say hello over on my personal page. On Instagram, it's at Omoshola Speaks. On Facebook, it's Victoria Owolabi. Feel free to reach out, introduce yourself, say hello. I love meeting you. And if you have any stories that you feel will inspire another woman to action, I want to hear from you. I really do. I love hearing from you. Send me an email to hello@icandemy.org. So it's hello@icandemy.org. And if you find this content valuable, please rate and review on iTunes. Leave a review. It matters to us so that people can find it. So rate, and review on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to your podcast. Thank you.